Good morning, friends, and welcome to the 7th episode of Tabletop Humans, where I invite other humans in the tabletop space to chat about the work they do, whether it's game design, actual plays, charity work, what have you. We'll play a party game, and then we'll have you home in time for lunch. I'm your host, Jess the Human, and today's human guest is Juli, aka Juli CL on the internet. Juli is an incredible TTRPG performer, writer, and game master, award-winning fantasy writer, actor, and comedian. I am literally so excited to chat with them about expressing oneself through performance, Tactics Memoriam, a new TTRPG she's been writing, and so much more, not to mention what their Good Morning Proclamation is going to be for the day. With all of that being said, Juli, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. Can you please introduce yourself and let us know what you do as a human in the tabletop space and outside of it as well?
Oh my goodness, where to start? I mean, you definitely got the broad strokes for sure. I'm like a shark. I have to move around a lot or else I will perish. I'm always on the go in the tabletop space. In addition to running streamed games with my friends, in both D&D and other indie systems, I co-run the channel Roll D5 right now, which is all about showcasing indie systems as one-offs. I have worked with a number of channels at this point as a player and game master in different capacities. And at last, I am writing and publishing my own system. That's the tabletop space. Beyond that, I'm a New York-based actor and writer who works in a restaurant, which is rare.
You, my friend, you said you're a TTRPG shark. I would say that you are a TTRPG jack of all trades. I mean, you are quite literally doing it all. And when you said that you guested on other folks' show, I'm just counting the number of times you've been on mine. It has always been a joy and privilege to play with you. But before we keep talking about what you do in the TTRPG space, I would love to hear about what led you to performance in general. I'd love to hear really what drew you to the arts, acting, and writing.
Absolutely. And this jack of all tradesness as far as tabletop games go, I think it's important to remember that it was my education. I do have a BFA in acting. I did take a number of creative writing classes in college and beyond. It's all skills that I sunk my time into even before I found tabletop games in general. What drew me to performing was basically wanting to get out of my shell. As a teenager, I was super shy. I would go to school, not say a word to anybody, and go home. I'd have my face buried in a book at recess. I was so uncomfortable when people tried to talk to me. I had like hair that fell into my face and like big glasses. So I was like the real anime shy kid for sure. Eventually I got tired of that. And it took some doing, but slowly started to push my comfort level and boundaries as well, from walking up to people in the cafeteria and just starting to talk to them, to doing theater. And from there, I was very shocked to get into a pretty well-known arts college and have just tried to keep up with it as much as it is possible to do artistic things while also trying to sustain oneself.
What do you mean by that? I mean, come on. It's a really cool journey that I've seen both on pieces of paper and just knowing you as a human. I do a little bit of research before I bring people on, and I found your resume online, and it's pretty impressive with all of the acting and all of the writing you've done. Not to mention, I mean, being Luffy over at Japan Universal Studios, that is so cool. I love seeing all of the photos of you doing that, and I love hearing you talk about it. But what I'd love to hear you talk about now is when you started transitioning into TTRPGs. Was it a bunch of actors gathering around a table together? It was? Oh my God. Okay.
It was. It was actors and film kids doing a small podcast. It was a very close friend of mine who we'd been friends for a very long time, and we kind of stopped talking for a while because I had like a little bit of a crush on her. And then just kind of as a peace offering, she's like, "Hey, I miss you. Do you want to be on a D&D podcast?" And I'm like, "I've never played D&D before." And she's like, "That's fine. do you want to be our healer? I'm like, cool, I'll be a healer. So my first character was a tiefling cleric on a small but well-reviewed D&D podcast that I don't believe is on the internet anymore, with a lot of other folks from the same school that I went to, both from acting and film. So it was a very energetic table, to say the least.
I believe it. Now, my follow-up question was going to be, how did you go from hobby into making TTRPG content? But it sounds like you went from making TTRPG content to then making it a hobby. Can you talk about that transition? That's really interesting.
Yeah. I was finding myself looking forward to recording our podcast every single week. And I was like, wow, I love D&D. I want to play D&D all the time. And if Nick doesn't have time to run it for us all the time, and if this podcast is kind of slowing down, I'm going to have to learn to do it myself. So the first campaign I ran was actually when I lived in Osaka, in Japan, because we lived in a house of 200 actors. And it's kind of hard to socialize when nobody really speaks Japanese. So we were kind of just like going to each other's rooms and being like, hey, want to play video games? Or in my case, like, hey, do we want to get a D&D campaign together? So it was a literal dream scenario where organizing sessions was just being like, is Matthew awake right now? Cool, I'm going up to his room.
That is incredible. And I feel like it'd be a lot easier to schedule things when all 200 of you are just right there. Wow.
Yeah.
So you said your first character was a cleric, well, a healer, not necessarily.
It was a cleric, a tiefling tempest cleric.
Amazing. Something that I've noticed about playing with you and watching you play on other streams is that you create such incredible TTRPG characters that have really deep backgrounds and motivations. And some of them are deeply unserious. And you and I both know that we're talking about like Esmer from our One Piece game, but they're always really moving and have such incredibly lived in backgrounds. And they're very real. So I'd love to talk a little bit about your character creation process and how you make your characters feel so lived in and three-dimensional.
Absolutely. And I also want to preface this in that I did not start there. My character in the original D&D podcast, I was very much figuring him out session to session.
That makes sense because you didn't know what to expect with D&D, but as time goes on, you progress not only in your knowledge of D&D, but also in your, what if I pretend like I actually know what I'm doing? So
yeah, I mean, I think that's a super fair point. So this is something I ask my players as well when I'm running a long-term campaign for them. When you're creating a character, I think it's good to know their wants. It's good to know what they want most in the world, because that is going to affect how they behave in a scene. If you're acting and what your character wants most in the world is for this man to fall in love with them, that's going to inform how they act. If you're in a tabletop game and what you want most in the world is revenge on the wizard who killed your father, that's going to inform all of your decisions going forward that way. After figuring out what you want, I think it's important to figure out what you are willing to sacrifice to get there. I think that adds a nice level of dimension. Whether that sacrifice is like, I am willing to be broken and beaten down just for a shot at what I want, or even like if it's something darker like a Call of Cthulhu game, like I will sacrifice all of my friends in a satanic ritual to obtain this Eldritch Spear. That just informs everything. Knowing what your character wants, whether they are going to get it or not.
Oh, I love that. And so I want to know a little bit about if you put pieces of yourself into your characters or if you try to stray away from including yourself.
I think as performers, we include ourselves whether we want to or not. There is a trick in voice acting where if you want to create a character on a spot, you do an impression that you know you're not going to be able to do.
Can you tell a little bit more on that? That's so interesting.
Yeah. When we are trying to impersonate somebody, unless we are a professional impersonator, of which there are, it's not going to be exactly on the mark. So you can end up being inspired by somebody's performance, and in mimicking it, boom, you've accidentally created a whole new character, your version of this character in a different medium, which is something that I've done for voiceover before, for tabletop before. Esmer in some moments was very Luffy, but I can't do that same voice. At Osaka, I was lip syncing. I wasn't actually saying the lines. I was lip syncing to the original voice actor. So me trying to be like the confident, happy, big smile on their face all the time character is going to be different because it's me and not the person playing that character originally.
And so do you think that writing, your background in writing helps you more with your experience in TTRPGs, or do you see the opposite where your TTRPGs is helping inform your writing?
I think it's the latter.
Oh, really?
I think it's the latter. When I finished my first ever long-term tabletop game, which was the D&D game I played in Osaka, I wrote like a big sappy post, and I was like, running D&D is like writing without being a writer. And sure enough, I didn't realize it, but I was writing. I was figuring out the kind of story math of here's how we start, here's how we get there, what's going to happen in the middle. And very soon after that campaign ended, one of my players in that campaign, Jamar Thompson, and I wrote our audio drama, The Realm Tree, over the course of the next year. And we did not have professional writing experience at all, but we had a lot of experience with D&D over the course of that whole year. And now it might be off screen, but now there's an award on my wall for best audio drama, best new audio drama 2021 for The Realm Tree. So you can just fall into it from any place, truly.
Absolutely. And so can you talk to me a little bit from going and writing The Realm Tree to now the TTRPG that you've been working on for the last year? It's a little bit different, it's not an audio drama, but it's still a lot of love that you've been putting into it.
Yeah, for sure. It really is an Ouroboros of how one thing led to another. It's just a big circle. It's like, where did it start? Where did it end? But I think the process of writing Realm Tree gave me a lot of trust in the process of creating a world and creating characters. You don't really know where they're going to end up for sure when you start. And you can get halfway through a story and be like, my original ending doesn't make sense. And there might be some variation of it. Partway through the series, Jamar and I decided, we think we finally figured out what the Realm Tree is about. And it took us writing 15 out of 30 episodes to get there. And therefore, we need this character to die, was the conversation that we had. And that's something that we didn't know at the start of the process. So as I'm finishing up Tactics Memoriam now, I am, in a way, also learning to trust the process, also learning to let go of it, learning to trust the invisible player who will eventually play the game, in that I don't have to explain every single thing about how you could create a world, create your characters. I'm just going to give them the template and trust them, kind of just like how I just push the characters along their rails while writing Realm Tree and just trust it where it would all end up.
If you really can't trust them enough to come up with it on their own, you can always give them a little starter adventure or something like that. So you can both do the thing that you need to do, but also itch that scratch that you're probably just dying to do. But what I really want to talk about is just, you've been working on this for like over a year, right?
It's been about a year. Yeah, I think I started brainstorming it during the summer of last year, and I was picking away at it first really quickly and then much slower over the last few months.
Amazing. Well, can you tell us a little bit more about the game and what inspired you to make its first draft?
Sure. So Tactics Memoriam is indeed a strategy game about death. I have been picking away at a fantasy novel for a little while, which is on pause, about the afterlife and trans identity, genderqueer identity. This was a story idea that came into my head when I was grappling with a number of health issues during the pandemic, and I started to imagine a world where after the chaos of this one, we kind of like wake up as our truest selves. Like the shape of our soul is honest with the shape of our body, whatever that may mean. And that fantasy story is on pause, and I hope to pick it up again someday, but elements of it are very present in Tactics Memoriam. It is inspired by the isometric strategy games that I love, like Fire Emblem, Final Fantasy Tactics, even just chess, just moving little guys around and having them do stuff, but it's going to have that validating afterlife framework. There's a whole table of different character traits where you can roll for when you wake up, to show what your character might be like. Maybe they now have the head of a lion, or maybe they're a skeleton, or maybe they're just so graceful that their feet barely touch the ground. So whether you're rolling for your character or the new characters that you recruit as your party grows, as the story goes on, I think that element of diversity of appearance, backstory informed by said appearance is going to be very important to it.
So you said that it's inspired by a little bit of Fire Emblem and other very tactical games. So what elements of lovers of these games can folks expect emulated in Tactics Memoriam? Anything new that might surprise fans of these series?
Yeah, so I think it's a love letter to fans of those series, and also doing something that I don't see very often in tabletop games. In, I think, all of the games we've played together, you only control one character because you have a million abilities to memorize, or, you're still trying to learn who they are. When I designed Tactics Memoriam as a tribute to these games where you yourself are on a little Game Boy controlling 15 little guys on a map, I condensed the combat system so that you can control multiple characters at a time. I'm thinking maybe 3 to 5 per player. Like multiple of you can play and just kind of take command of different little guys. So the game is basically you move and you attack, and then you have other abilities that might grant I'm stronger if I'm away from everybody, or I can redirect attacks against me. But it's all very simple for the idea of being able to control multiple little people. So exciting news for lonely kids like me on the playground is that I'm designing this game to be played as an option entirely by yourself, with friends, or you could also just play it by yourself. I have a roll table for how enemies can act, a little priorities list for what they would do, and then you can literally just journal who you run into in the afterlife and what they look like as your battles happen, who dies, who moves on, etc. So it's long-winded answer to the question of, it is a love letter to this type of game while also giving tabletop game players, I think, something that is relatively rare in the space, which is you being in charge of the well-being of multiple simply playable characters.
Ooh, I really like that a lot. I think that's really fun. And I think that some people crave being able to jump into the body of multiple people, not just one. That's why you see TTRPG players playing a zillion games throughout the week. So I think that that's going to be really, really neat. Can you talk, though, a little bit about the love of crafting something new? This obviously sounds like we just mentioned that not a lot of other systems are doing that. So I'd love to hear you talk about the love of doing something new instead of crafting or creating a hack of an existing system.
I have so much respect for the people that create hacks of existing systems. I think whenever we do homebrew campaigns, that's ostensibly what we're doing. But I feel like this just needed to be mine. And not in a selfish way, just in I have wanted so long to create a world where death and trans identity intersect. It just made sense to slap this game that I've always wanted to play, ostensibly, this non-existent game that I've always wanted to play on top of that, and see what happens. Because this is the tabletop game that I want to play. And that's the type of joy that I hope to provide in other people, providing them something that they want but don't have yet in creating something from scratch. I'm sure that there are ideas adjacent to this, maybe even very similar to this, because oh my god, there is such a breadth of tabletop games out there. I feel like I've probably played 100 and not even gotten a 100th of the way, a 1,000th of the way through everything. It's like I can't even wrap my head around all of it. But I think following my own joy led me to create this, and I hope that will help people find their own joy in it as well.
Something that I think a lot of queer and trans folks love about TTRPGs is being able to see themselves in their characters and to be able to safely just explore their identities in TTRPGs. So could you talk a little bit about how you view this in tabletop as a whole for you, as well as, if you'd like to, just the community in general?
I think it's so important to mess around with gender in tabletop games, honestly. Even if you're a cis person or otherwise completely confident in your identity, I think you learn a lot about yourself, how you view people, how you view the world based on how you act out these characters of different identities. Or in the case of me, I played like a goth warlock girl in one campaign that a friend was running in Japan, and I'm like, this is awesome. I really like this. I don't know why, but I really like this. And that helped me find a lot of my own joy in the gender interplay, not leaving behind mask parts of myself that I enjoy, but also being willing to embrace the femme parts of myself that I enjoy. Give it a try. Give it a try if you haven't already. If you're already in the know, you're already in the know. You're doing great.
Absolutely. But even if you're in the know, just keep on going
Keep
down.
doing
There's
it.
always more to explore. Absolutely. Well, my friends, I feel like we're going to start seeing a lot of Tactics Memoriam very soon, because I hear that you're doing a little bit of launching. So can you tell me a little bit more about when we can expect more?
Yes, indeed. So around the time our conversation is released into the public, perhaps on the day or perhaps within a week, there should be an initial Kickstarter campaign that you can follow to fund Tactics Memoriam. Donations will go to things like getting art assets for the game, maybe providing an alternative if you don't want to have a battle map. A mapless version of the game is something that I have noodled on as well, but it's going to be a lot of work, so it would definitely be a stretch goal. And also, I have a fantasy writing background. We hit these stretch goals, I will be writing stories from the land of Memoria. I will be writing some stories to be included with the book about these souls waking up in the afterlife with their ever-changing bodies, trying to find their way to the paradise that they have been denied. That is going to be a part of this. It is a skill that I have. It's a skill that I've honed. So it's going to be a part of it, especially if we hit these stretch goals. Then you're going to see a lot of writing to further inspire your own adventures.
Ah, incredible. I am so looking forward to that. It's going to be an amazing game, and I'm looking forward to seeing it played here and there and literally everywhere. I feel like we're going to see so much of it on Roll D5, which we haven't chatted about a lot yet. So I'd love to switch gears a little bit, because you've been on the Roll D5 team now for what seems like forever. And y'all are a Crit Award finalist for 2025, which is incredibly exciting. Unfortunately, by the time this comes out, the voting will already be over, but hopefully people have already voted for y'all. But I'd love for you to really share about your experience with Roll D5 and some of the cool and exciting things that y'all are working on as a channel.
They expanded my brain. They really did. Just showing me how many more types of games there are out there, how many ways you can roll dice, and that not everything needs to be D&D. I played on a one-off game with Onduin, who then invited me to play a game called Empty Cycle with Mika and Andrew and Zoe and other folks who all ended up being part of the team. But Roll D5's frenetic, fast pace of introducing game systems and people and one-offs to everybody, I think is just such a noble mission that I'm super happy to support it. I'll be so legit with you in that I am less of the scheduler that An and Mika and Sylvia are. They handle a lot of that producing aspect to it all, and I feel like I'm mostly the one just like hooking them up with players and like giving advice for how we can grow as a channel. I feel really honored to be part of a group that treasures these games and also treasures everybody's time enough to divide the workflow so much among a big team.
Can you talk about what it's like working as one person on a team as large as Roll D5, and maybe any advice to folks who are looking to start their own channel, not necessarily just going in on indie TTRPGs, but just a channel that is focusing on TTRPGs and focusing on having such a big community effort?
Yeah, I think my biggest advice is to know where your energy and time are at going into anything. I feel like burnout, artistic burnout, creative burnout is a big topic for everybody in the space, and pretty much every project in tabletop that I've been a part of that ended up petering off over time has been because people were too exhausted to continue going at the pace they were going at. Roll D5 is very intentionally a large team so that we can delegate not just tasks, but parts of tasks to different people. Anduin will message in our admin Discord, like, all right, we need to start for August. We need to start casting games for August. It's like, cool, someone's going to send out the forms. Whoever is available on whatever given day will like look through all the casting forms and try to like build tables based off of a good mix of folks we've worked with already and new folks, so that the GM has a good balance of people. It's division of labor, which is really the only way to sustain the pace that Roll D5 goes at, especially because every single one of us does things beyond Roll D5 as well. Mika has thrown his whole Mikusi into promoting Triangle Agency.
I'm sorry, what?
What? I'm only showing Mika the love that he deserves.
So true. So true. It's so funny because Mika was my June guest for Tabletop Humans. So be sure to go and watch Mika's episode that I'm going to put in now.
Please do. Please watch that lemony scented episode. Sylvia works a lot with Sword and Key, etc. I do stuff on my own channel and also try to guest with a bunch of other people. So yeah, we're all busy. We're all busy, and we give what we can to each other, but no more than that, because oh my god, we would get so tired.
Burnout is incredibly prevalent in the TTRPG space, and I don't think that people realize that they've got burnout until it's a little bit too late. So with that being said, my friend, I'd love to hear about what is inspiring you and exciting you in the tabletop scene in general right now.
This is so, I don't want to say petty, but D&D has had such a stranglehold on all tabletop games for so long. A lot of people just think that tabletop games are D&D, period, that anything that's rolling dice is D&D, or anything that's rolling dice that's not D&D is like, well, why wouldn't you just play D&D? I'm a finalist for Best Indie Game Master for the Crit Awards. And one of my very sweet coworkers posted on their story to get people to vote, and it was a screenshot of my post, like of the category I was nominated for, and nevertheless they titled it with "Go vote for my friend and their D&D adventures."
Oh no!
And I appreciate the gesture regardless. I don't blame them for not knowing about a hobby that they don't do themselves. But it's just so funny that D&D is everything. And what excites me right now is that the biggest voices in tabletop games, being Critical Role, Dimension 20, etc., are branching out to other systems. Critical Role, Darrington Press is doing Daggerheart now, which I love. Daggerheart really feels like I think it was on an XP to level 3 video where somebody maybe in the comments or maybe him himself mentioned that Daggerheart feels like D&D for people who got into D&D by watching people play it, just being more narratively focused. And I think it really shows the power of divesting away from the big corporation and kind of trying to do your own thing, make your own thing, that maybe this dragon game, which I do enjoy, will have less of a fucking monopoly on everything.
Understood. It's very funny, but not funny at the same time that your friend said, and their D&D adventures. I know when I try to tell people that TTRPGs, yes, include D&D, but also the world is vast and there are so many more. I say it's like D&D, but different.
Yeah.
It's a totally different thing. And people are like, what? And I'm just like, don't you want to be a thirsty sword lesbian? That sounds fun, right?
What more do you need to ask?
Right? Well, Julie, I have some bad news. We only have 2 questions left of this interview portion. I know. And the funny thing is that the next question does include D&D.
Oh my goodness.
So
how did we get here?
I know. God, it has me in a chokehold. Anyway, I think that humans have a really bad rep, specifically in D&D, for being boring. So I would love for you to tell me about a standout character that you've made across any TTRPG, doesn't have to be D&D, that was a human, and just like what made them unique.
Absolutely. I thought a lot on this question because I think it's a really good question. I think the reason people think humans are boring in D&D is that when they look at the variety of other lineages, species, etc., I think a lot of people end up using them as shorthand for their own societal frustrations. Whether people play multicolored tieflings to embrace queer identity and reject homophobia, or whether they are playing, a dwarf in a city of elves to sort of emulate challenging race dynamics, etc. I think that is something that is so easy to fall into when you are picking and choosing among all these different exciting lineages, but that's not something you have to deprive yourself of if you're just playing a human. There are struggles and prejudices in human society like any other society, as we can see in the actual world that we live in outside of Dungeons and Dragons and other tabletop games. The human character coming to mind right now is one that I played on a no longer existing tabletop game podcast who I loved dearly. Her name was Ashnan Hanabi, or Ash for short. And I inspired her based on Entrapta from Indy Stevenson's She-Ra, just like a big old nerd who is really excited about technology, but she was a Rune Knight fighter, human fighter. We just fall into it. So we had the aspects of big old nerd, but it was big old nerd in like really obsessed with runes and is drawing cool runes on her shields to create like fiery blasts. And I think in the context of D&D, humans, regardless of whether you're exploring dynamics of class, prejudice, etc., as people tend to fall into more so often when exploring other lineages, I feel like humans are always the underdog. Because even in just the way the question was asked, like, why play a human? They're just a guy. And that's the thing. They're just a guy fighting a dragon. They're just a guy trying to survive an underwater lair. They're the underdog in any situation, and I think that just makes their stories exciting to follow.
I absolutely agree. There's something special about just a guy going up against a dragon, knowing that they could just be stomped flat like that, or they could just get some fire breath, or they could get one flap of the wings and they've gotten flying 100 feet and then they're impaled. I mean, I think it's very cool. However, I will be sticking to my sexy tieflings.
As you should. As you should.
As I should. And finally, my friend, we've got just that one last question, and it is that tabletop implies the existence of table bottom. And I would love to hear where you weigh in on this philosophical debate.
I think Honey Heist is a table bottom game.
Can I ask why?
No.
Incredible. Well, my friend, we have made it through the interview portion of the game, and we are moving on to our game portion.
Oh, yeah. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
All right, my friends, we are in our game portion. Ooh, Julie, you have picked the game Mind Meld, which no one else has picked yet. I am so excited.
Because they're cowards, Jess.
They are cowards, or they want to look at smash or pass people, and
For
I
sure.
understand. For those of you who have not played Mind Meld at home, Julie and I are each going to separately think of a random word. We're going to count down from 3, and on 3, we're going to say that random word. And we're just going to keep doing this until our minds meld and we think of the same word. We're going to try to do this in as few turns as possible, so wish us luck. Julie, are you ready?
As I'll ever be. I'm a theater kid. I've mind melded my fair share of times.
I am not a theater kid, although I do work in a theater, which is weird to say, and I've only mind melded a handful of times. So let's go on 3, 2, 1, banana.
Apple.
Oh, what the fuck?
Jess, we are at a crossroads here. We could end this right now. We could end this right now on 2. If we mess this up, it's going to be really embarrassing.
That is going to be really embarrassing. Okay. I think we end it here, but then also do it again. Because this is just, it's unfair.
This is just a demonstration.
Okay.
All right.
3,
2, 1.
Fruit.
Fruit.
Wow, that's nuts. What?
I feel like apple is a very common starter. So I was kind of curious to see if we would even get it on 1. I've mind melded a lot.
Incredible. All right.
I'll do something a little trickier this time.
Okay. I usually play this in the car, and I'm usually like, oh, there's something that I see. So there is no banana in my room, but I did just buy an orange pitcher with a banana as the handle yesterday. So
Aren't you glad I didn't say banana?
Yes, actually, that would have been nuts if you said banana. I literally would have screamed and run out of the room because that would have been out of this world. Okay. I have my word if you have your word.
I believe I do.
Okay, amazing. 3,
2, 1. Aristotle.
That
scared me. That scared me, Jess.
What's going on?
These are pretty different, Aristotle and airplane, but that first sound, I felt us both go like, no.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I don't know a lot about Aristotle, so I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. I've got my word. 3, 2, 1.
Machine.
Design and machine.
Okay.
Okay.
I love seeing your thinking face. You look so stressed.
I am stressed. I don't know why I include this game for people to play now because it stresses me out.
That's okay. Just like we were talking about, just trust the process. We'll get there.
Just trust the process. We will get there.
We got it on 2. We'll get it in 20. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. Design and machine. Okay. All right. I'm ready.
Do it.
Okay. 3,
2, 1.
Manual.
Blueprint.
I almost said something similar.
We're close. We're close.
Manual, blueprint. Okay. I think I'm ready.
Yeah, let's do it.
Stop looking at me.
You're being perceived, Jess. I'm so sorry.
No. Okay. I'm sorry. Bisexual Awareness Week is over. It ended a long time ago, so you actually need to stop perceiving me. I am invisible.
You're so right.
Okay. Are you ready?
Blueprint manual. Yes, ready.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Text.
Instructions.
Okay. Instructions text. I've got my word.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Read.
Message.
Damn.
Ooh.
Read message.
Okay, I have one that might be cheating, but we'll try it anyway.
I read message. I don't know how. Okay, we're going to do our best.
Let's do it.
3,
2, 1.
Book.
Red.
Understood.
Read and read.
Yeah.
It's spelled the same. But when I think I read text message.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Now we have read and book.
Read book.
Do I drive us further or closer is the question.
Read book.
Red book. No matter what, Jess, we got it in 2.
We got it in 2, and no one can take that away from us. Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah. I've got a word, I suppose.
Okay.
3, 2,
2, 1.
Shelf.
Communism.
Okay.
Red book.
Red book. You're so right. I mean, I was thinking like Bible. So, yeah. Communism.
I'm sorry, I drove us further. But no matter what, we got it in 2.
We got it in 2. Communism shelf.
Yeah. Just follow your gut. Just follow your gut. We'll get there eventually.
Okay. All right.
3, 2, 1.
Worker.
Theory and worker. Okay. Theory I think there's something.
And worker. Theory worker.
I think there's something.
Okay.
Oh my God. There's 2 routes I can take. I don't know if I don't know what route you're taking. Now I'm nervous.
There's no reason to be nervous.
Okay. Theory worker.
This is definitely still under 20. No reason to be nervous.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Okay. Theory worker. Let's do this.
Theory worker. 3,
2,
1. Theologist.
Philosopher.
Fuck.
Philosopher, theologist. Okay.
I think I've got a word.
Okay, let's do it.
3, 2, 1. Think.
Religion.
Fuck. These people love to think. But
no.
I understand where you're at. Okay. Religion, think. Okay, I've got one.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Prayer.
Atheism.
Fuck.
Just watching your mouth shape being like, I hope this lines up with mine. Cool. So prayer and atheism.
Okay. I think we could do this.
Okay.
Maybe.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Opposites.
We did it.
Trust the process, Jess. That's my message to you, the viewer. Trust the process.
Wow, we did it. We went, whoo. Incredible. I cannot believe that we both picked words that started with air.
Yeah,
that was nuts. Whew, okay. Well, my friend, now that we have played our game, we've played it twice. I can't wait to go back and count how many times it took. I was keeping track at first, and then I was like, nope, doesn't matter. Could you take some time to tell the people watching at home more about you, where they can find you, when they can, I know like late July, middle of July is when we can expect Tactics Memoriam to come onto Kickstarter, but anything that you want to tell the people about?
Yeah, absolutely. You can catch me mostly on Blue Sky and Twitch as Juli CL, JuliCiel. I'm also on Instagram, but I don't do follow for follow there. I tend to keep that to my closer friends. You can find me frequently playing and organizing games on Roll-D5. You can check out the game that got me the Best Indie Game Master finalist position on Roll-D5, Gubat Banwa Ash and Glory, which is a 5-episode series set in a mythic pre-colonial Philippines-inspired settings, a like tragic martial arts fantasy game. Yeah, assuming everything goes as planned, Tactics Memoriam will appear on Kickstarter late July. We'll have a month where people can follow it and get more information, and then we'll have a month of fundraising to hit all those art assets. But yeah, catch me on Twitch, catch me on Blue Sky, Julie CL, catch me presumably on Jess's channel sometime, and just across the tabletop game space, trying to bring a little joy and a little think to everything that I do.
Absolutely amazing. Definitely be sure to check out all of the links that I'm going to put in the YouTube description below. But before, friends, we move on to our final segment where Julie gets to say good morning to you all. Here are some upcoming tabletop charity initiatives and other initiatives that we have to be on the lookout for.
Hi everyone, I wanted to come on and talk about the No Ice in California Itch.io charity bundle that launched on July 4 of this year. It supports the Immigrant Defender Law Center, which is an LA-based social justice law firm that defends our immigrant communities against injustices in the immigration system, as well as Refugee and Immigration Center for Education and Legal Services, a Texas-based organization fighting to welcome and fight for families seeking safety and freedom in the United States. While this organization is based in Texas, they are serving a lot of families who've been apprehended in Los Angeles and transferred to a family detention center in Dilley, Texas, run by the private prison contractor CoreCivic. All in all, there are 560 different games in the No Ice in California Itch.io charity bundle, many of which are TTRPGs, plus there are browser-based video games, art packs, game supplements, and more. Some of my top picks include Nighthawks, Glitter Hearts, Fist, and Raptor Boyfriend, a high school romance. This bundle is available until August 10th and has a $100,000 fundraising goal, again, to support these two incredible immigrants' rights organizations. I hope you check it out. I hope you purchase the bundle, and I definitely hope that you share with your friends, family, and everyone that you know. I also want to give a big thank you to Darrington Press for sponsoring $300 in matching gift funds for today's stream, plus providing giveaways for our donors and giving the entire cast access to For the Queen with physical and digital copies. I also want to give a round of thanks to Bogus Cheesecake for sponsoring $250 in matching gifts, and also to Session Zero for giving away a free t-shirt to one of our donors as well.
All right, my friend, we have made it to the end of Tabletop Humans. I'm actually really sad. This has been so much fun. But before we leave, before the folks have their lunch, I think that you have a very important message that you'd like to share. Is that right?
I believe I do, Jess.
Amazing. The floor is yours to decree today's good morning.
Of course. And my message to our viewers today is good morning to all those who tried to bend spoons with their minds as a child, and a special good morning to those who succeeded, and them only.
You heard it here, folks. I'm Just the Human, and this is Julie from Roll D5. And together we are saying good morning to those who tried to bend spoons with their mind as a child, and a special good morning to those who succeeded, and to them only.